Thousands of years ago, the first man discovered how to make fire. He was probably burned at the stake he had taught his brothers to light, but he left them a gift they had not conceived, and he lifted darkness off the earth. Throughout the centuries, there were men who took first steps down new roads, armed with nothing but their own vision. The great creators, the thinkers, the artists, the scientists, the inventors, stood alone against the men of their time. Every new thought was opposed, every new invention was denounced. But the men of unborrowed vision went ahead. They fought, they suffered, and they paid, but they won. No creator was prompted by a desire to please his brothers. His brothers hated the gift he offered. His truth was his only motive. His work was his only goal. His work, not those who used it. His creation, not the benefits others derived from it. The creation which gave form to his truth. He held his truth above all things and against all men. He went ahead, whether others agreed with him or not, with his integrity as his only banner. He served nothing and no one. He lived for himself. And only by living for himself was he able to achieve the things which are the glory of mankind. Such is the nature of achievement. Man cannot survive.
Good morning, Austin, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. My name is Ray Blevins, my co-host Joe Zamecki, and this week's guest, Jeff Dee. And first of all, I'd like to remind everyone, today is August 16th. We are live on the air. We'll be taking your phone calls. That's our number. That's today's topic. But first off, we'd like to get through a couple announcements here for Atheist Community of Austin. We meet every Sunday at the Hot Jumbo Bakery, which is down at 307 West 5th Street. It's just more of a casual, free, open meeting there, and these are people that have gotten past the point of whether or not there is a God. We don't sit down there and argue whether or not there is a God or whatever else. We're there to talk current events and socialize. We do have our blood drive is coming up October 17th at the Central Texas Regional Blood Center. All local atheists are able to draw from this account. You don't have to even have to be a member of our group. If you're an atheist and you run into medical problems and you need help, please call us there and we'll see if we can do anything good for you. And we'd love for all atheists there to be donors. We like the idea of that's a way to atheists to have an afterlife there. The next in our lecture series will be September 6th. The gentleman's name is Mosh Vership, and the title will be The Bible Ethics and Other Atrocities, or subtitle, If You Think There Must Be Some Good in It, Get Over It. I've yet to see the whole presentation, but I've met the gentleman. He's a very entertaining, intelligent person there, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's at Furs Cafeteria, North Cross Mall, at 11 a.m. on September 6th. October normally would be our lecture series, but we're going to be doing something a little different in October. We're planning a bus trip up to Comfort, Texas, to hopefully take part in the parade and the dedication of the Free Thought Cenotaph. Am I pronouncing that right? Cenotaph?
Yeah.
Okay. The plan is to meet at Hot Jumbo Bakery and leave from there. We're getting a bus and everything else. There will be some cost involved, but we're a nonprofit organization, so we're not doing it to make profit. We're just doing to cover the cost of the bus. So if anybody in the group or anybody in Austin would like to join us on that, feel free to give us a call at our voicemail, which will be flashing up here later. 371-2911 is that voicemail number. So that's pretty much on the announcements for this week. Joe, you got any news articles you'd like to bring up this week?
Yeah, a couple of things. We've been talking about crosses springing up all over the United States, courtesy of our good Christian friends. Well, in Europe, there has been an ongoing problem with crosses, namely in a very sensitive area, and that is Auschwitz. And we have a report now that more crosses are going up From Warsaw, Poland, conservative Roman Catholics have erected 10 more wooden crosses next to the former Nazi death camp at Auschwitz, despite calls by church officials for them to stop. The new crosses were set up in late Thursday or early Friday. The cross controversy began in 1988 when a 26-foot wooden cross was erected at Carmelite convent that adjoined Auschwitz. Jewish groups want the large cross removed, saying it is visible from inside Auschwitz and violates the memory of the more than 1 million Jews killed at Auschwitz near Birkenau. This is another excellent example of where no area is too sacred for Christians to push a torture device into that area and claim it to be glorified and hallowed and divine, when really it's just a torture device. It's been used to kill a whole lot of people, a lot of innocent people too, and really disgust a lot of people. But when you put it right there at Auschwitz, obviously it's going to cause a problem because, well, no other way to put it, the Nazis were Christians and the Jews were not. So, come on. A couple other things. There's an editorial in, let's see, the Daily News, and I'm not sure exactly where, Sunday of 1998, July 19, 1998. And it's talking about the lady, I believe in Pennsylvania, who was fired from her job teaching class in public school for conjuring up a ritual, a big prayer situation in class. And some of the students complained. And here is an excellent editorial. In May 1844, Protestant mobs attacked a Catholic neighborhood in Philadelphia, burning at least 30 homes. After several Catholic churches also were set afire, the governor dispatched militiamen to restore order. Yet pitched battles continued, culminating in an all-night melee in July. By then, as many as 50 people have been killed in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. The cause of this mayhem? Religious instruction in public schools. 6 years earlier, Pennsylvania had mandated Bible reading in schools, objecting to the teachings from Protestants' King James Version. Catholics successfully petitioned the Philadelphia School Board to allow an exemption for their children, but that was too much for the city's Protestants, who charged that foreign papists were removing religion from the schools. And that's one great example of how there was violence among religious people, and they were all Christians against each other, one sect against each other.
150 years ago.
Right, way back then, that a lot of people don't know about, especially people who are trying to push public school prayer now. They don't know that there was a violent battle that took place on the soils of American soil. And Mildred Rosario is the name of the lady, the teacher in that public school who was fired for doing that. She caused a big uproar and now has a lot of support as well. So this is one other example of how people are realizing that's wrong. We'll come back to more?
Yeah, because we got people calling and waiting in line, and so let's go, let's skip, I'll save my news article for another week. Let's go
straight to this one.
Yeah, it's we usually try to do a book review. Jeff Dee came in with a news article from Newsweek, and I'll let Jeff Dee take over from here.
This Newsweek is a few weeks old now, but you may have noticed the cover on...
There we go. Yeah.
How could you miss it?
There we go. You may have noticed the cover on the newsstands. Awfully startling news item here. Science finds God. But needless to say, this article's title is misleading, to say the least. Here's an example of what's actually in here. It's not science finding God. Astronomer Alan Sandage, who says he was almost a practicing atheist as a boy, was nagged by mysteries whose answers were not to be found in the glittering panoply of supernovas. Among them, why is there something rather than nothing? Sandage began to despair of answering such questions through reason alone, and so, at 50, he willed himself to accept God. Now, this is not science finding God. This is a scientist willing himself to believe in God despite the fact that science hasn't come up with a scrap of evidence. Another example. Rather than undercutting faith and a sense of the spiritual, scientific discoveries are offering support for them, at least in the minds of people of faith. Well, this is not science finding God either. This is people who already believe in God using scientific discoveries as an excuse to support what they already believe, and not science coming up with stuff that really does in the minds of anybody who isn't already a believer.
And they're actually using unscientific, because if they go in there with the idea that they have the answers already, that's not what science does.
You can't do science that way.
Exactly.
You can have an idea, and you have to have some idea of what you're looking for in order to set up experiments and test them to find out whether your idea is right or not. But you don't go into science with a presupposition that there is God and then look around for every little loophole in our knowledge where you can possibly stick him.
And then throw out what doesn't fit in.
Exactly. Physicists have stumbled on signs that the cosmos is custom-made for life and consciousness. It turns out that if the constants of nature, unchanging numbers like the strength of gravity, the charge of an electron, and the mass of a proton, were the tiniest bit different, then atoms would not hold together, stars would not burn, and life would never have made an appearance. Well, this is just the God of the gaps. We don't know why those constants of nature are the way they are yet. That's still something that's being investigated. And to assume that because we don't know something, God did it, is not science even a little bit. Until we understand why those constants are the way they are, it's very premature to claim that God did it. The thing to do, if you think that God did it, is find evidence that God did it, not just use what you don't know to excuse your continuing belief. The world follows rules that are fundamentally mathematical, rules that humans can figure out. This, says Polkinghorne, is a very deep fact about the nature of the universe, namely, points to a very deep fact about the nature of the universe, namely that our minds which invent mathematics are somehow tuned into its truths. Since pure thought can penetrate the universe's mysteries, quote, this seems to be telling us that something about human consciousness is harmonious with the mind of God, unquote. Now, the problem with this is they just got finished with using things we don't know about the nature of the universe, why those constants are the way they are. Our ignorance is used in that case as an excuse to believe in God. You take what you don't know and you say God did it. Well, now they're saying when we do find out information about the universe, the fact that we can is evidence that God created it. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, if there's a thing we know, that means God must have made us, and if there's a thing we don't know, that means God must be responsible. That's just nuts. Okay. The thing is, I mean, in a naturally occurring universe, intelligent beings such as ourselves would reasonably expect to find some things that we can understand and some things that we cannot understand. And that is exactly what we find. So there's nothing in any of this that points to God. All that they are excuses to go on believing. More quotes. To most worshippers, a sense of the divine as an unseen presence in the visible world is all well and good, but what they really yearn for is a God who acts in the world. Some scientists see an opening for this sort of God on the level of quantum or subatomic events. Quote, quantum mechanics allows us to think of special divine action, says Russell. Well, as a matter of fact, everyone is already allowed to think whatever they want. You don't need permission to get permission to think what you want by invoking quantum indeterminacy. The real question is whether or not quantum events are truly random or whether they display any sign of intelligent control. And so far, they don't. Yes, we can't predict them, but just because we can't predict something doesn't mean somebody else is making it be that way. If quantum events are purely random, then there is no intelligence behind it and no reason to think that there is any God. Then the article says, most scientists still park their faith, if they have it, at the laboratory door. What is all this about science finding God? The title of the article is denied by the content of the article. It turns out, says Primek, that the largest size imaginable, the entire universe, is 10 with 29 zeros after it in centimeters. The smallest size describes the subatomic world, which is 10 with 24 zeros and a decimal in front of it. Humans are right in the middle. Does this return us to a privileged place? Primek doesn't know, but he describes this as a soul-satisfying cosmology. Well, soul-satisfying or not, there are all kinds of problems with this sort of reasoning. Imagine a 100-pound weight and a 1-pound weight. It would be incorrect to say that a 10-pound weight is right in the middle. This kind of reasoning only makes sense if you're speaking about an exponential scale with a power of 10. And reading meaning into that particular numbering system is also kind of nutty. religion is incapable of making its moral claims persuasive or its spiritual comfort effective unless its cognitive claims are credible, argues physicist theologian Russell. Otherwise, says astronomer and Jesuit priest William Stoger, religion is in danger of being seen by people even minimally acquainted with science as an anachronism. Okay, well, now we have the reason behind all of this. In other words, religion has an agenda here to appear scientifically credible at all costs, because they recognize that without scientific credibility, nobody with the slightest grasp of science is going to take them seriously. And there's yet another line in the article from the writer of the article: science cannot prove the existence of God, let alone spy him at the end of the telescope. Well, then why are they titling this article "Science Finds God"?
They wanted to sell
their magazine, yeah.
Thankfully, the remainder of exactly, it's pure sensationalism. The remainder of the story continues this retreat away from the promise of the title. What the article is ultimately telling us is that believers can no longer reject science without looking like complete fools, so they're running around claiming that science now supports what they've believed all along. Instead of clinging to nonsensical interpretations of the Bible, they're now turning to nonsensical interpretations of the findings of science.
Excellent review. Thank you. And, we love having different members from our group on every week, and you did an excellent job with that. And now we'll go to the callers here. Juan. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. How you doing?
Excellent.
Yeah, I was interested. I'm a Christian.
All right.
And basically, y'all believe after y'all die, what do you think's going to happen to you?
The world keeps on going without me.
Oh, that's for sure. You know, I mean, I know that. But what's going to happen to you is the question.
My molecules will go back into the universe to be reused in the natural scheme of things.
Well, Juan?
Okay.
Juan, I have a question.
Juan, we have an answer here.
I just something to put this in perspective. What happened to you before you were born, Juan?
Before I was born, I was predestined by the Lord. You know,
to be born?
What predestined is you're talking about stuff that was going to happen later. What was happening to you before you were born?
Like you said, the world was going on. You know.
Well, it's much like that after you're dead.
Oh no, but you see that's not true. Okay, because when you die, you're going to be on the judgment seat. You know, you will
and
bow before the Lord.
And what proof do you have of that?
Okay, you see, as Christian, you don't walk by sight, you walk by faith. Okay,
right.
So when you're a Christian, you're a believer, and the Lord sends the Holy Spirit to live in you. That's just to testify that the Lord exists. You know that He is God, and that He is your Savior.
Yeah, well,
and the Holy Spirit convicts you of that.
If you want to just believe stuff, you can believe whatever you want. You don't need any kind of excuse.
Well, you're right. We have free will. And what you guys are doing, is very dangerous. You guys just reject the Lord completely.
Well,
and that's why this world is so wicked. You see, because people just choose to reject the Lord. You laugh, but it's the truth.
We have free will, but if we don't believe as you believe, then we're in danger?
That's what the Word of God says.
Okie dokie.
Do you have any opinions or thoughts on this article here about science and God here?
Yeah, basically, you guys are disagreeing with that, right?
No.
We'll never find God, because you know, I mean...
that's what you
need to do. What we're disagreeing with is the title of the article. The article itself, in fact, says that they haven't found God, so there's no problem there.
Who wrote that?
That's a good question.
It's Newsweek, one of their
yeah,
writers.
Who wrote that? Whoever wrote it is not a Christian, I'll tell you that.
Not an atheist either. So
he is an
atheist. That would be a reporter who's trying to give a balanced view of things.
Sell magazines, yeah.
Okay, so you feel that...
You see, I was an atheist. I was in darkness just like you guys. And I know you guys believe that what you believe is true. And, you know, basically...
No. That's where the problem comes in. We prefer not to use the word believe. We're convinced with the evidence that's out there, that's overwhelming evidence to point to science and the fact that there is no God.
Well, you're walking by sight. You're not walking by faith.
I'm walking by logic and knowledge.
Okay, well, that logic and knowledge will be okay while you're here on earth, and while your mind is on earthly things. But once you die, that's why you don't understand spiritual things, because you don't have no spiritual understanding.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to tell you is every knee shall bow. I mean, what are you going to tell the Lord when
that is so
okay,
that
just
is so
listen,
disgusting.
one question. What will you tell the Lord?
Nice?
Say again?
Could say something nice. Every knee shall bow. That is so horrifyingly disgusting to so
why
many
is it
people.
disgusting?
Well, think about it. Now, I don't want to bow down to anybody. If you say it's a loving God and I have to bow down to
Well, you see, God is a loving and just God. We live in a wicked world. This world is a fallen world. The Word of God says that. Now, all I want to say is, what are you going to tell the Lord?
Quickly, huh?
What are you going to tell the Lord when you die? And He says, why did you reject me? And when you knew of me, but you chose to reject me, the Word of God clearly says.
If I die and there happens to be a God and I was way wrong, I will look at God and I will go, oops. And if that God is the kind of guy who is going to fry me in hell for exercising this free will you say I've got, then that's not a God that I would have been able to honestly bow down to in the first place.
Okay, real quick here. You see what you just said? Okay, now you know of the Lord, and the Word of God says that people would know of me, but they still would choose to reject me. So you
like
without
you
excuse.
call up and tell us about it all the
You're without
time.
excuse to say, oops. You won't have it. You see, you've got to choose the Lord while the blood runs warm in your veins. You can't wait till you die and then say, oops, there's a God, so I'm
God
going to
has
choose
set
you
these
now.
rules, and if you don't follow them exactly this way, on no evidence whatsoever, just on faith, just because people say so, then you get fried in hell.
Because He loves it.
It's not between what
You
people
can live
say
that
in
way.
religion.
Go ahead.
It's between you and the Lord and the Word of God.
Excuse me, Juan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
We have a bunch of callers online. Today's August 16th. We are taking your calls live on the air. The topic is science and God. I'd much rather stay on the topic than try to argue what's going to happen after we die here with somebody that won't even listen to us. So let's move on down the line to Charles. Good morning, Charles.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Excellent.
I got to make it brief. I'd like to just sort of make a little statement if I could.
Quickly.
Yeah. I think that atheism is a misnomer. It's not an actual disproof of God. I don't think you have any logical backing for that, but I think it's more like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's before you actually reach the end of logic, you're making a presupposition.
I don't see your point. You have to explain that.
My point is the proof that logic will lead you to a thought, a belief of God. The proof of that is that all of the most logical minds in history have come to that conclusion.
You ever read any books by Carl Sagan?
What's that?
Carl Sagan?
Thomas Paine?
I certainly don't consider Carl Sagan as one of the most logical people.
So what you're doing is you're predefining logical people as people that believe in your God.
No.
Well, and by that definition, yeah, you're right.
Okay. No, I don't really. Stephen Hawking is probably the most logical person I can think of on the planet.
Stephen Hawking is at best an agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but see, agnostic, atheism, those are terms that go to define someone that is classically thought of as one who wants to disprove God exists.
No, gosh. How long have you thought of this?
You guys are spending every waking hour trying to disprove God.
No.
Why don't you get off the topic?
If
you disbelieve it, get off the topic. But no, every show is about God. Every show. All of your waking hours are about disproving God.
We don't believe in a whole lot of other things, too. Palm reading, astrology, Vishnu.
So go on to that. Who cares?
We do once in a while.
If you don't believe in God, who cares? Go on with your life. Forget it.
That's your opinion. You're welcome to it.
Let me tell you something, friend.
If
you want to prove that God exists, you follow your logic. Don't back out on your logic. Your logic will lead you to God. You're on the right track if you're actually following your logic. But I don't think that you are. I don't think you're going to the end of logic.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome to your opinion, and we love hearing your opinion, but we feel our logic brings us to no other conclusion than...
highly illogical, Captain.
All right. Let's move on down the line to Tim.
Hey, guys.
Good morning, Tim.
Maybe y'all can help. I just tuned into your show. I
Sure.
guess y'all are basically defending evolution.
That's one thing we do, yes.
We haven't mentioned
y'all
evolution.
Can clear something up because I'm not a real scientific guy.
Okay.
On evolution, basically, they say random chance, but they kind of skirt over that. Random chance, is that not solar radiation causing a mutation in a gene to create another change in the species?
Well, it's one possible change of many. We're not saying...
Is that the fundamental basis of random chance?
You can't call it the fundamental.
That's half of the basic mechanism behind evolution. Half of it is random change. The other half
when
is
you say random
natural
chance, define
selection.
random chance. Is that not a mutated gene? What
yeah,
other possibility is random chance?
It's genetic change. Yes?
Mutated gene or what else?
Correct. Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay, well,
let's
I mean,
talk
I'm
about
just
that.
questioning because I'm not familiar with the subject real
Natural
good, and this has
selection
always
is the other
puzzled me.
half.
Maybe y'all can answer for me.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
go
I'm
ahead and
sorry.
answer the
I didn't realize you. I thought you were trying to make a point. I'm sorry, caller.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm asking you a question.
Okay.
Don't most mutated genes, like 99% of them, like the frogs that are mutating all over the planet, aren't they almost always negative towards the... I mean, anytime you have a damaged gene that's ultraviolet radiation damaging a gene, how many times out of a billion is that going to be a positive change? And for that to happen, billion, like taking an automobile and putting the parts into a jar and shaking it up, and boom, one time, you got a Cadillac.
You have to look at the other half
I mean,
of
that seems
evolution,
like
which
a
is natural
billion to
selection.
one leap of faith.
Well, go ahead, Jeff.
You're asking a question, and I'd like to answer it.
Go.
You're ignoring the other half of evolution, which is natural selection. When you shake parts around in a jar, there is nothing to take away parts that don't fit together properly. And in evolution, there is. If you have a frog that has mutated and can't live in its environment, it dies, and those genes don't get passed on to the next generation. The frogs, those few frogs, and you're right, most mutations are not beneficial. Those frogs whose mutations are beneficial survive better, produce more offspring, and that improved gene is what gets carried on.
I mean, I'm sorry. If it's a fact, you can reproduce it. And anytime we've reproduced ultraviolet damage to genes, to mutated gene, I mean, can you give me any example of a positive outcome?
Well,
That's only one way to do it. There are lots of ways.
There are
Well,
examples
solar
if I can jump
radiation
in
comes
here.
one way.
This is
okay. No, we have
Sound guy.
our sound guy. Arlo, did you have input there?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, they
please.
do that with bacteria all the time. What you do is you got bacteria in a petri dish, and you add a little bit of something toxic, just toxic enough to kill the
I'm talking
average-
solar ultraviolet radiation.
Well, that's our point. We're trying to say, solar radiation is just one of many factors that are changing, doing the mutation.
That was my question. What else mutates a gene?
Nuclear radiation, for natural nuclear
Well, besides
radiation.
Are you
Yes.
Are you arguing that all mutations are...
I'm not arguing anything. I'm asking y'all to answer it, and y'all can't answer it for me.
But here's my point. If any portion of the mutations that we're talking about are beneficial, and if there is natural selection, and if there is sufficient time, you get evolution. That just happens.
I'm dealing with the first if right here, and y'all won't answer that for me.
We'll try one more.
We've agreed with you that most mutations are not beneficial, but that's
What are the
irrelevant.
chances that a non-beneficial mutation of a single-cell creature in a primordial soup billions of years ago would have enough positive mutations to come into a human brain as complex as me?
Yes.
Well,
we're not talking 10 minutes time, though.
The mutations that were not
don't
positive
you
died,
think
and
that's
the
pretty,
ones...
miraculous, to use a borrowed term.
If you look at the DNA from your... Wait a minute, sir. If you look at the DNA that you have in your body right now, you will see the genetic history all the way back to that single cell thing. So we carrying the proof to exactly what you're saying in our DNA, in our body right now.
Oh, the building blocks of life are throughout the universe. Yeah, we're common genes from every animal. That doesn't prove anything. How does
Yes, it does.
How does that gene mutate from a single-celled
We're trying to
creature?
explain that to you.
You
have to.
I mean, just
you're
go with me on the odds.
fixated. You
What
are fixated on the fact that most mutations are not beneficial, and that's correct.
I mean, you
But
couldn't
if
get
any-
one example of a
may I
positive
speak?
one.
Most mutations are not beneficial, but if any are,
Yeah,
and there is
that's
natural
the big
selection,
if.
Sir?
and
Go ahead, Jeff.
If any of the mutations are beneficial, and there's natural selection, and there is sufficient time, you will get evolution.
I
You
agree.
can model this in a computer. It does take too many years for you to see a demonstration in a laboratory because you're limited by the rate at which the creatures can reproduce. But this is a mathematical proof.
I agree 100%.
All right.
That wasn't my question.
All right.
Okay, we'll give you one more chance.
Well,
What question are we
that
answering?
if all that happens, yeah, you get evolution. But the big if is, what odds do you think of a single cell getting enough positive mutations over however much time to come to such a complex? The odds are very, very small.
Sir, I agree with you 100% that number is big. But the other side of the coin, it did happen. We are here.
I'm not
we
saying
have
it
proved
couldn't
that
possibly
number is
happen.
not
I mean, just-
an impossible number to reach.
I'm in a total agreement with you. But
Okay.
the
Well,
odds are
I have other callers I got to get to.
Hey,
Take care.
Hey, I'm jumping in one more.
Yeah, Arlo, please.
it's a big number, but you got to think about there's such a big number of creatures out there, not just the big amount of time, but the number of organisms. And that guy was asking 2 questions, and every time we would answer one, he'd jump to the other one.
Yeah,
he's not learning a darn thing.
Yeah. I appreciate your input there, Arla. Let's go on down the line to Sam.
Hi.
Good morning, Sam.
Hi. I just wanted to talk about some of the science in the Bible itself.
Oh, that'd be a great topic.
Okay, it's in Joshua 10 verses 13, basically. It's about the sun.
Sir, you must preference that with which Bible you're looking at.
Okay, New International Version.
Thank you.
Okay, it's about the sun standing still, and it says, "O sun, this is Joshua talking to God.
Okay.
O sun, stand still over Gibeon. O moon, over the valley of Ajalon." I don't know what that is. "So the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, till the nations avenged itself on its enemies." And then it goes on to say, "The sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day." Now, according to science, the reason the sun travels around is because the earth rotates.
Correct.
So the only way that the sun can stop still in the sky is for the earth to stop rotating, which would essentially throw every single creature on the face of the planet at a rate of whatever the earth is traveling around.
Exactly.
All that momentum would be conserved according to Newton's laws.
Exactly.
And so basically we would have tidal waves, earthquakes, mountains falling down, buildings being completely destroyed over the entire face of the planet. Absolute destruction. And I was just wondering why the Bible is the only, document that, sort of notices this.
Well,
I noticed it?
Wait,
it's a
you
story.
started it out as saying science in the Bible. So
I don't see any science in that at all.
I'm thinking you're saying that this is a scientific...
This is proof that the Bible is not scientific.
There
you go. Thank you.
Okay, I misunderstood the way you said that.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I was just trying to show that the Bible it plays fast and loose with science all the time.
Exactly.
Any book that says the Earth once stood still without orbiting. Come on.
If I want to add something to that. For true relativity, for a standstill, the Earth would also stop orbiting, and the Earth would crash into the sun. So there's another little tidbit.
Yeah, it would actually, the gravity would bring it into the sun, exactly. That is just one of many scientific contradictions that you can find in the Bible, and I do appreciate you bringing that up. Do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
That's it.
I appreciate your call.
Right.
I just want to say real quick, the John Templeton Foundation had a conference in Berkeley in June of this year called Science and the Spiritual Quest. And they invited a whole lot of different religious people and scientists and everything. However, atheists were pointedly not invited to participate. And there was actually a quote. They said, quote, "We did not give equal voice to those who are intolerant and derisive of religion." And that was the Episcopal Priest Project Director. And it's just one more example of how religious people will have a bias already in their mind and a goal in their mind before they ever go and do any research.
That's a nice assumption there, that that atheists are intolerant of religion. We're not going to anybody's churches and telling them what they can and can't do.
Right, or doing like the Bible saying that it's the only answer.
Yeah.
It tells you right in there not to look at any other book, that has all the answers. And we're out there telling you what the information is. We're not telling you how to interpret that information. We're not telling you what to do with that information. We're just telling you the information is here and what our interpretation of it. But we're not telling you you have to agree with us or anything else. We just want to make sure that everyone is tolerant of our point of view, just as we are tolerant of the Christian point of view. Okay, let's go on down the line to Mary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mary.
How are y'all?
Excellent.
Long-time caller.
Well, he got onto my pet subject with the frog mutations that are happening right now.
Right.
The frogs are an indicator species.
Good point.
And I was trained like in biochemistry and organic chemistry and all that stuff. And I started looking at the ecosystem as an end in itself. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a sufficient gift to make me happy. I'm not one of those power people. I don't care who's got the... Well, I should care, but I don't care who's got the power. just living life in that beautiful ecosystem was enough for me, and I'm losing it now. I'm real worried about the frogs because, as I said, they're an indicator species.
Exactly.
That something terrible is going on with my precious ecosystem, and I can't get them to listen. I can't get hardly anybody to listen that we're not the most important thing that there is.
Yeah, we're not the be-all and end-all of evolution.
Yeah.
It's continuing on as we speak.
But see, it's polluted me now because I'm feeling the fear.
That's
and
a shame.
I'm alone, and it just sometimes gets to be too much for me. And it seems like most people just don't understand, and I don't really have anybody to talk to about it.
Well, you're always welcome to call us.
Well, that's why I do.
I appreciate your
We
call.
remember you. We still want to get you to come down to the Jumbo Bakery after the show.
I told you one time I don't have a car,
Oh.
so by the and
sorry.
I have to watch the show.
Okay.
And if I watch the show, I can't get down there in time because
I
the
appreciate
bus is
that.
so slow. Maybe someday I'll skip the show and just go over there. Just please don't give it up.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
You take care. Yes, Mary, that's one of our regular callers there, Mary, yes.
I got a joke.
Okay, yes, we do have a joke here.
This is out of the July issue of the American Atheist Newsletter, and it's a joke, The Lotto and God, by John Galt. A guy named Joe finds himself in dire trouble. His business has gone bust, and he's in serious financial trouble. He's so desperate that he decides to ask God for help, and he begins to pray. God, please help me, he says. I've lost my business, and if I don't get some money, I'm going to lose my house as well. Please let me win the lottery. Lottery night comes, and somebody else wins. Joe again prays, God, please let me win the lottery. I've lost my business, my house, and I'm going to lose my car as well. Again, lottery night comes, and Joe still has no luck. One night, again, he prays, my God, why have you forsaken me? I've lost my business, my house, and my car. My wife and children are starving. I don't often ask you much for help, and I've always been a good servant to you. Please just let me win the lottery this one time so I can get my life back together. Suddenly there was a blinding flash of light as the heavens opened, and Joe is confronted by the voice of God himself. Joe, meet me halfway on this. Buy a ticket. Okay.
I like that one, yes. Next sticker, Joe.
Oh, okay, well.
He
We got any
changed
calls?
them?
Yeah, I change them once in a while.
Yeah,
Robert Ingersoll is one of our favorite
That one's hard to read,
agnostic
isn't it?
writers.
Yeah.
It was?
That blue one is.
This
yeah.
one's going to be even harder.
Yeah, I don't think you can read that one. This one's that. The hands that help are better far than the lips that pray. I said that wrong. I'm sorry to Robert Ingersoll for misquoting him there, but I like it.
Close enough.
Close enough. Hey, we got the point there. Oh, there you can see it real good.
More stuff to talk about?
Sure, go ahead. Let me remind everybody this is August 16th. We are live. That is our telephone number. We're talking science and God, and we have a news article here along those same lines.
Well, this is old, actually, from the New York Times, and it's talking about science and religion.
It's not that old, July 12th.
Oh, okay. Science and religion crossed their lines in the sand, and it's got a big picture. This is a great picture. One reason why I like this article. This is a painting of the trial for heresy, the heresy trial of Galileo. And I'm not sure exactly which one he is in this, but I think he's centered.
Probably.
Because they're surrounding him, and he's all like up here somewhere. Anyway, some good talk in here about the whole idea to try to compensate and to get them together. There are two ways to play this game, though. Religious believers seem more eager than ever to step over the line, trying to interpret scientific data to support the revealed truths of their own theology. The creationists are old hands at this, with their arguments that radioactive dating, properly massaged, actually supports an Earth just thousands of years old and a universe created in 7 days. Nearly 150 years after the publication of Darwin's On the Origin of Species, biologists and geologists are still defending their craft before state legislators who want schools to teach that evolution is just a theory, something that could also be said for the hypothesis that the Earth orbits the Sun. Anyway, it's important to note, though, that the first really correct scientists who, like Galileo and Copernicus and Bruno, they originally came out with the correct answer to these questions and were persecuted for it. We'll come back to that, though.
All right, I see we got several callers here on the line. We are getting close to the end of the show here, so we're going to try to make it as quick as we can here. Well, we got 20 minutes yet, but try to get as many as we can here. Let's go to John.
Yeah, man, I'm first time caller.
Well, welcome.
All right. Just kind of figure, how do y'all feel about God? Do y'all believe in God?
No, I don't.
You don't believe in it?
No.
Okay, is it wrong for anybody really to believe in it?
As long as they don't force the point to where they're ready to fight and draw blood over their belief in God, which 99% of the armed conflicts going on presently in today's world is religious in nature. So as long as you keep out of that realm, yeah, you can pray to anybody you want in your house, pray to Allah, pray to God, pray to Buddha.
Santa Claus.
But if you're ready to kill someone over your belief, then that's a totally different story.
Yeah, but people ready to kill people over different types of beliefs. I mean, man, that's kind of cool, which just right there praying is begging. It's easier to pray than to go to somebody right now and ask them for something.
You think?
Even the little joke you gave a while ago, that was a great joke. I enjoyed the joke. I thought it was funny.
Thank you.
It's easier for that person to pray rather than, if it's a person who got a lot of ticket and prayed, yeah, I understand that point there. But it's easier for that person to do that than actually go to people, because people don't care about people. It's easier for you to sit here and give your indifference to actual religion, because evidently it's easier for you to go to everybody you want to and get everything you want. That's cool. I mean, if that's what you think is able to be done, that's fine, because you can walk to every store and ask anybody for some money, and I guess everybody just give you what you want. If you need some help with something, I guess everybody just give you what you want. But if, in other words, if you're sick, I guess you can go anywhere you want, spend all the money you want, and get all the health care you want taken care of.
No,
but it's easier.
I think I see the point you're leading to.
But hold on. It's easier.
Okay.
Though. It's easier for you to do that rather than just pray. Praying ain't killing nobody, man. And the experience, there's a science in God deal. It's always going to be an issue. It's always going to be a big issue. But the way people are today and the way society is today, you might as well leave it be. And yeah, if you don't believe in God, that's fine. But don't make other people even contradict it, because in dealing with people, it's harder to deal with them than it is dealing with science and trying to figure out if it really is a God. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you this.
Okay.
In dealing with people, I find that it's hard in this society. If someone has just that one thing to believe in, such as God, that's fine. I mean, when I was in school, they prayed in school. When I was in school, you said your pledge of allegiance. I think it gave you some kind of foundation as a child. Didn't force it on you, but it gave you some kind of foundation. Whereas now, kids going to look at this show or anything that gives you the atheist experience and confuses them and throws them off. We have no foundation. You take it away from them, you cause a problem. That's all I'm saying. Give them the one thing to believe in, man. Just give it to them.
All right, thanks. Okay, Jeff had a response to that, and we'll try to get as many callers as we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree that having a belief, having a set of beliefs or high motives or things you aspire to, that's great. I'm all in favor of that. His first question was, is it wrong to believe in God? And the answer, when it's asked like that, the answer is no, you clearly have a right to, but there are different kinds of ways to look at that question. If you look at that question in terms of, is it justified by reason, then I would say the answer is no, it's not justified by reason. And I would just hope that people would pick something to hook their inspiration to that had more basis. That's all.
If I may mention, the caller,
Sure,
the caller said praying never killed anybody, but praying killed over 200 children in the past 10 years among the Christian Science community.
Excellent
and
point.
Many
Thank you.
adults too. So it actually does kill people in that sense.
Excellent point. Thank you. It's going down to Mike.
Yeah, I got a couple questions for y'all.
Quickly.
As far as evolution goes, and then just some basic anatomy.
All right.
Are y'all pretty familiar with, let's just say, a protein cell in your body or my body?
So I didn't what? Say
the protein
cell. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cells in
protein
your body
is not a cell.
protein cells in my body. Did you know that a protein cell has a more complex structure and design than the entire outlay of Texas as far as road structure and house building? That there's more.
Protein is not a cell. There's protein in cells.
Okay, what I'm saying is in a single cell. And
Okay.
Are you telling me that we don't diagram a protein cell or a living cell or whatever type of cell you want to take? There's more of a structure and design within that cell than there is within our greatest architecture. Okay. It's
Well,
more complex.
that's an opinion. That's your opinion.
That's a scientific opinion.
No, there's complexity. There is a difference between complexity
Sir,
and...
Sir?
Yeah.
There's a difference between complexity and design. The same could be said of a grain of sand. If you look at the way that all of the little molecules in that grain of sand are hooked together, there is immense complexity in that, more complexity than all the things that you're mentioning. But it's just complexity. It's not design.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate that for sure. Now hold on a second.
Okay, your turn.
Now then, let me ask you another question.
Sure.
Could you fathom in the vastest universe, you walking up and finding a computer on the shore, and finding that computer working properly, and on the shore of an ocean, and could you find that computer able to print documents and able to do things that our computers can today? Can you fathom that in your wildest imagination?
What's the analogy?
What was the process that caused this computer to come into existence, sir?
Can you answer my question? Can you fathom that?
Of course I can fathom that, but then the question is, how did that computer come about? And that's a completely separate question.
Well, see, and what we'd have to find is we'd have to find evidence that proved that computer somehow evolved. Computer is
if it evolved, then the evidence...
The computer is not nearly as complex as we as humans are.
Right.
But we can't picture a computer forming from nothing. Yet we formed from ooze. And what you're telling me is that there's evidence, or scientific evidence, that shows how that progression happened. We still do not have the evidence. We still have...
Yes, we do.
We do? Name it for me, because the Time magazine article, if you're going to use that, where they found the knee bone and the skull bone, the knee bone of the human knee bone that they found, and the face, the skull that they found of the chimpanzee, those were found over 1¼ miles apart.
So?
Something that is very important. What we did was we found a bone 1 mile somewhere, and we went another mile, found another bone, and we assumed that they went together. That's not proper scientific evidence.
Yes, it is.
What you need to do is you need to be very clear that evolution is still a theory. Now, you cannot prove creationism. I cannot prove that. I believe strongly in that, and that's based on faith. I cannot sit here and tell you that my faith dictates that that's correct.
I think you need to listen to biologists and not to theologians when you get your evidence about...
Sir, I've listened to several biologists, and I will not find a reputable one that will say that they have all of the archaeological evidence, that they have all the bone structures that they can show. There are missing links. Will you or will you not agree with me?
Sure, but there can be evidence. There can be bits missing, and the picture still works.
Okay,
and that's the situation.
You're making the picture work. There's missing evidence in my perspective, and I'm having to make the picture work. Both of us are having to stretch a little. Neither one of us have all the answers. If you believe you have all the answers, sir, I would have to disagree with you. What I will say is I base my faith on what a man that came on this earth, Jesus. Now, would you admit that man was on this earth?
There's enough controversial proof to show me that you can even prove that Jesus existed.
Hold on a second. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Jesus Christ is more documented in literature, and not just the Bible.
One book.
He has more written documentation in history than George Washington.
No, we don't.
More versions of the Bible.
We don't know when he was born. We don't know where he was born.
But there are Roman, there are Jewish.
There are 2 historians that listed him, and those.
There are 2.
Yes, there are 2 historians that list him.
I have some literature. I don't have it with me. Okay, I will call
Josephus was one of them.
And I'll tell you more than the 2 historians that listed him in more than 2 places that he is.
And I can bring the literature to show you over 50 different historians that lived in Jesus' time that never even mentioned him.
Are you telling me that right now you honestly believe that there was not a man by the name of Jesus Christ?
That's exactly what I'm telling you.
I honestly don't care.
And what do you base that on?
The fact that you haven't proven it, it's just like God. We don't have to disprove it.
At Harvard.
Say again?
And he had a mock trial, where he was going to prove that Christ was not valid and did not exist. At the end of his semester, little tongue-tied today.
Okay.
At the end of his semester, he gave his life to Christ for one reason. Out of all his in-depth research, You see, you're searching to prove he's not there.
No.
Just search unbiasedly.
It's not our responsibility to disprove anything.
Okay,
We do have
that's
other
good.
callers,
and it's
though.
not my job to disprove evolution.
To prove that God exists, anyway.
Okay, thanks for
we have a bunch of other callers. I do appreciate your
Thanks.
input. Please call again. Okay, it's going down to Bill. Yeah, we got 10 minutes left. Bill.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
After that little diatribe, you'd mentioned Galileo, and you'd mentioned the days of creation, and it's quite interesting going over the days of creation. Of course, in the first one, it says that God said, "Let there be light."
Right.
But it isn't until the fourth day that He creates the sun.
Right.
Also, He creates the living plants and trees on the third day.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that rather hard to believe without a sun.
Excellent.
And also, He mentions waters. And if you don't have the sun, which is also heat, then you don't have flowing waters. You've got ice. And I mean, that's not faith or belief. That's scientific fact, don't you think?
Thank you.
Yes. And one more thing about
Sure,
this
quickly.
Jesus character that this man mentioned, who so many hundreds of millions that believe in to be a very peaceful and loving man. This is from Matthew chapter 10, verse 34. He says, this is in the gospel. Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword.
Yes.
For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's foes will be those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." I
Excellent.
don't know about that. That doesn't sound like a loving man. That sounds like a psychopath.
It does.
You have to
Arresting.
love me more than anybody else. I think Hitler kind of said things like that. So, yeah, I'm bothered, you know. If you read the Bible with an open mind, you find oh, boy, there's a lot of things in there that really don't make sense.
You're right.
But that's all I had to say.
I appreciate it.
Thank you
very much.
Okay, quick.
I just wanted to say,
quickly.
We have a great picture also in that newsletter from American Atheist. The Mount Soledad Cross in San Diego has been a big topic of controversy. They've been trying to get it taken down. Of course, the city and most of the people in San Diego just love this. But a great photograph was made when the city accidentally put a wrong way sign directly in front of the cross. Now, the city itself is saying this. Wrong way, buddy. Just
that is
go
a great
back,
picture.
Go back and learn something real. Okay, just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Okay. Sabas?
Yes. I just need to talk a little bit about the science and God.
Okay, quickly. I got 8 minutes.
Okay. It won't be long. Are you positive there's no God?
I'm convinced.
There's no God. You're convinced in yourself there's no God.
Correct.
Okay. Has science proved there's no God?
Science, if you want to get technical, science cannot prove anything to 100% fact. Go ahead, Jeff.
What you do is you get a hard definition of God, and then you can look at that definition and determine with pretty good accuracy whether that definition makes any sense and is in line with the evidence. A lot of people have a very soft, flexible definition of God, and that's awfully difficult to disprove.
Mm-hmm.
But only because it's wishy-washy.
There's no God. Science hasn't proved there is no God, and in other words, science is science against creation. Okay, there's people that believe in creation, and there's people that believe in science. Okay.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. The Bible was written by prophets and men that believe in God, and like yourself, you believe in what science says.
All right.
And there's no proof either way if you believe that way, but which one has more gain? Like if you believe in science, you will die, and your body will rot, and that's it. Now,
so will your body.
A Christian believes different. You believe that you will die, and your spirit will go to God.
Just because you believe that does not mean that that's going to happen.
No.
I am convinced that your body is going
to... It works either way. See, if you believe that your body will rot, and you're not...
I'm just as convinced your body's going to rot.
See, you're not sure that's going to happen either. So
I'm just as convinced.
But two beliefs there once against each other, and The Christians, we believe that we go to God and we will have everlasting life if we believe in Him and do what He says.
All right.
And the other way, if you believe in science, you'll die, and that's it. You know.
Okay.
Which one has more gain?
You're assuming that because Christians believe that they'll go to heaven, that they're gaining something, and the question is not whether you believe it, but whether it's true.
Okay.
If it's not true, you're gaining nothing.
Let me say something else.
Okay, quickly.
In other words, you're saying that all the people that wrote the Bible, all the prophets, and everybody that wrote the Bible are liars.
Would you say that about the people who wrote the Quran?
See, they're not telling the truth. They're saying that...
what about the prophets who wrote the Quran?
The Quran...
or the Egyptian Book of the Dead? Are those people all liars?
They're probably not. They're writing what they went through. You know.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? The prophets, the disciples of Jesus, they wrote what they went through.
Nobo's saying that the people who wrote the Bible
they died
didn't.
For Him. They died for Jesus. When you die for something that you believe in, I mean, it must be you know, pretty sure what they believed in and what they went through.
Sounds like it's all based on emotion.
Well, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm sorry. I've definitely run out of time.
I wanted to make an announcement.
Sure, quickly, Arlo.
Council, let me make an announcement that there's going to be a show about the Scopes monkey trial on Court TV.
Oh, yeah?
On the cable channel 47.
Really? Wow. Excellent.
August 25th on Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Oh, right there. He's writing it down in his
And I got to mention
PDA
something
right
about
now.
this whole believing in science crap. No one believes in
That's
science.
good.
No one should believe in science. It's
Good
a
one.
method. It is not a belief. It's a method to get the truth.
Excellent.
Exactly.
All right, let's quickly go to John. John? Oh, shoot. I've been doing so well. It's been weeks since I cut anybody off. John, I just cut you off. I'm sorry. Let's go on down to Mark. Mark?
Hello?
Sorry about that, John. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was just going to make a couple comments. First one about the fellow that was talking about the protein cell. Obviously, it's not a cell, it's a molecule. But you also talked about the grain of sand being a complex system, I guess.
Yes.
It's not really complex. It's highly ordered, perhaps. Well, actually, it's not even highly ordered. It's an amorphous material, not like a crystalline material like
But think of the amount of information that would be necessary to describe exactly the way all of the molecules in the grain of sand fit together.
And each different molecule, because each grain of
that's
sand is going to be
what people
different.
are getting at when they talk about the complexity of a cell. They're talking about, you know, all of the different pieces that go into it and how they're put together, and that you can apply that same point of view to a grain of sand.
No. Grain of sand is made of silicon and oxygen in an amorphous structure.
Pure.
Okay, well,
Now,
quickly. I'm down to 2.5 minutes. Make your point.
If you want to call sodium chloride, yes, that is a little more complicated because it's highly ordered in a very rigid crystalline structure.
Okay, I'm down to 2.5 minutes.
Well, I just want to tell the people out there that are listening that may be on the edge between atheism and Christianity or religion, that these guys that are sitting there in front of you simply do not want to believe in God because it cramps their lifestyle.
All right.
And that's what it comes down to. They don't have any evidence. They don't have anything to go on.
Evidence?
That's what it comes down on.
Okay, you have a good point.
Real quick, it is not up to us to disprove any God ideas. It is up to the person who makes the claim that a God exists, that they need to prove it, and we do not have a responsibility to disprove the myriad of crazy ideas that are out there. And if you're really convinced yours is number one and you haven't gone and checked out the thousands of other possible God ideas that are out there, then it's kind of a narrow attitude.
But check out the thousands of museums that we have here in the United States. The evidence is overwhelming. We have tons of evidence to support
It's interesting that all these objections to scientific views on the origin of the universe and of animals all come down to, well, you know, I'm a Christian, so I looked at it this way.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down to one last minute, and let me do my personal announcement. The KLBJ listener nickname party is August 22nd. That's next Saturday. My number is 419-9836. If you want information on where it is, how to get there, and everything. You don't have to have a nickname to come. Just be a fan of the station. You're welcome to come. It's at Hemo Boy's house, and you can get more information. We're down to, I want to get John back on.
Oh, really?
Because that's the John I cut off. And we're running out of time, John, quickly.
Yes.
I can't believe we went through all that. Just get him back on.
October 4th, we're going to go to Comfort, Texas.
Yes. And
October is Free Thought Month.
Okay. Nanda?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, if we came from monkeys, how come there's...
I hit the wrong button.
Is he gone?
Yeah.
We didn't come from monkeys.
Don't
We
worry
did
about it.
not come from monkeys. No
We
one
share a
ever
common
says
ancestor.
All right, folks. We love Austin. We love the Christians. We love the Buddhists. All you folks.
Thank you,
Have
Austin.
a good week.
Be
We love
cool.
you. That was a good way to end there. I like that.
I like that. Cool.
That was nice. Man, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
You did a great show.
Oh, I had a great time.
Don't
What
close
can I
the
do this
music, I
again?
guess.
Yeah, when can you do it again? Okay, I like that
You
attitude.
wicked people.